Do you want to introduce yourself? Yeah.
Well, my name is Paul Kester. I'm a research associate at the Burke Museum, University of Washington.
Excellent. And you're here to look at some fossils today.
I'm here to look at some fossils, yes.
Awesome.
I do paleobotany.
Cool. So, I don't know exactly how you want to do this, but this is my collection as such. This was the very first one I ever found right here. Mm-hmm. And it's dried out some and cracked, unfortunately. And be careful right there. It's fully cracked. So I wasn't sure if we should, I was thinking I might want to epoxy it and then maybe use paraloid on it.
Epoxy for gluing it is a good idea. Okay. That would work. I wouldn't put anything on the surface of the leaf. We don't use any sealants at the museum, at least on leaf fossils. Okay. But many nice fossils are cracked in half because of extraction and all.
Well, that one came out whole, but actually it was just sitting. Yeah. It was just sitting, and then as it dried, it cracked. And I don't know the type of material either. And I do feel like as they're drying out, they're getting a little bit more scary.
Sure.
More. Yes.
Okay. Well, I brought my leaf book.
Perfect.
Okay. This was started about, good grief, 25 years ago. By Kirk Johnson. Kirk worked at the Denver Museum. Okay. He's from the Seattle area.
One of our own.
He graduated from Yale and doing his doctorate in North Dakota. He developed what we refer to as leaf architecture. So what we look at is we look at the veins.
I'm going to interrupt you. Sure. I'm so sorry. I just realized that the radio is still on. Go ahead and turn that off. And then did you want to sit?
Sure.
Pull that up. Yeah, let's pull the other stool out and then you guys can both sit. Perfect. Sorry. And I was so excited. I didn't. No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
So, their first attempt he did it in his thesis, doctorate. Then in 1998, I think, this book came out. Well, the first book came out, first edition. This is the second edition, and they've done some changes. So they have a whole list of people. I actually was involved in the first book in terms of went down for a seminar in Denver, and we beta tested his book.
Yeah.
So
make sure it works.
Yeah, the problem with leaves is to identify leaves, at least to a genus species, it's usually relies on flowers. All botany is flower based, unlike vertebrate, where they're teeth, bones, and so forth. So seldom do we get a leaf, a flower, in the same fossil, attached, or a cone and needles, from a conifer. So it makes it kind of hard, and then the preservation, of course, is an issue. So he developed this leaf architecture, noticing that, and this has been for over 100 years. I think Bailey and Smith, maybe Bailey, but about in 1915 came out and said that there's a robust correlation with leaf margins and climate. So they were even 100 plus years ago. They had this idea that you could use the architecture of the leaf to determine things. And so it's developed now, and with this newer book, that you can take a look at a suite of fossils that you collect at a specific site, and you can basically, what we call binning, put them in bins according to their architecture. So, granted, you look at two leaves, usually you see a difference in the leaf.
Sure.
The margins, lobing, whatever, how the veins run. it's pretty obvious once you get into it. But it really gets down to there's 5 orders of veins. What you're seeing on this one leaf, this is the primary vein. These are the secondaries. Now, between secondaries, there's third order or tertiary. Between thirds, there's fourth, and between fourths, there's sometimes fifths. So to really be able to put a leaf, you could probably bin it with seconds, but we need to have, like on the diagram here on this one, you need a margin. It helps to have a tip, a base, and then this is definitely thirds and fourths. This is a modern leaf that's been used. So this particular leaf, there is no tip, there is no base. I'm not sure that there's a margin preserved, but we do have first and second veins.
Right.
So unfortunately, first and second order veins don't score anything. Tip 1, 2, margin 3, third order 4. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3 points, 4 points, fourth order veins 5, fifth order veins a 6. The highest that a leaf can score is a 6. We usually want 3s and better.
To be able to definitively say what it is.
Get close.
Sure,
Maybe not definitively, but get close.
Okay.
So if this was the type of leaves you were finding, I wouldn't come down and look.
Right.
Well, I don't mind coming down and look.
Right.
But I wouldn't make a trip down and collect.
Right.
So
but it's definitely a leaf fossil.
it's definitely a leaf fossil.
I think that's first of all what she wants to know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I assumed it was, and it's interesting because this one is quite big compared to some of the other ones you'll see here. And but like I said, this was the very first one I ever found, and I found it literally exactly like that.
First is exciting.
Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't even know I could be looking for fossils here.
In this area.
I mostly look for chalcedony, agates, and quartz, and a little bit of jasper, but that's about it out there. And then the lighting happened to be exactly right. I was walking back and I looked down and I went, wait a second. And then my rock people said, well, you know, where there's one, there will be more, which again, I didn't
generally the case.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. So
case.
then I've started kind of developing, you know, and marking where I find them and all that. So. And
that's good. I mean, you've graduated from just someone walking around to actually the very beginning of a study, paleontological study, because you're noting location, and that's very important. We need to know, and I brought a map down for you. I'll kind of show. I do believe Liz was wrong on her call on what we're looking at here.
Okay.
So I got more excited yesterday
Yes.
as I'm coming down here to think we have much older fossils than what she thought, and they're at the age of fossils that I'm really interested in, and that would be early Oligocene.
Okay.
So we're talking 35 million years old.
Wow.
So these are about probably between 38 and 34 million.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Literally,
and when things are wet and dry, I mean, you might have walked by that 10 times when it was dry, but if it was wet, boom.
Yep.
Not that this is a clean rock, but sometimes we get them wet so we can look. And then I look at this closer, and so we've established that we have first order veins. The second order veins are coming out, going up the leaf. So this we refer to as being a pinnate leaf. Okay. Palmate leaves have multiple primary veins.
Okay.
So like a maple today has 3, 5.
Right.
Sometimes we can see 7, depending on what species.
Okay.
Again, is specific to the genus and species. So this is a pinnate. Now, I've found third order veins in here. So your fossil now has come to a 1. It's not a 0 anymore.
Excellent. It's been upgraded, which is interesting because this is probably one of the lower quality fossils that I'm going to show you.
Well, that's what I thought from the pictures that you had sent Liz. So these are the third order veins are just like on this leaf. They go directly from a second order to the sub-adjacent second order. Right. So they're going without forking. So I tell you, I'm sorry, I haven't used this in several months. And the terms are there, but then I look them up. It's percurrent, I believe, is what those
Tell
veins
what kind
are.
of rock it's in too.
Well,
it looks like it's.
That's the strange thing.
I like strange as a scientist. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, there's something strange?
Well.
Anomalies.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know if you want to jump to kind of the best, but that is underneath the thing here. That is, I would say this is one of my best specimens.
Should I put this one right
sure,
here
yeah, exactly.
And
That we're kind of done
wood.
with it. Yep, yeah, and I just collected that probably 4 to 6 weeks ago, something like that. And that stuff does tend to be fairly fragile once it dries out, which is weird. Yeah.
I bet. Yeah. Yeah, if I tried to cut this with a saw to get a flat plane on it, to polish it, it probably would crumble up pretty fast.
Yeah, it's not terribly great. And that's
cold.
Yep, exactly.
Qualified. Okay. So.
And then I don't know if this is anything. It looked kind of woody to me, but I don't think that's anything. And then this is just more of that carbonized wood.
I think this is just a sedimentary structure.
Okay.
So it's been laid down.
It's just interesting looking.
So
yes,
let's take a look
exactly.
here. Susan, if you could hold this. Okay.
I'd say those are some of my best.
Yeah, that's a nice imprint.
Yeah. And then I have lots of other random stuff that I don't really know what it is.
Are they from different places?
Mostly 2 places. And I will admit that I do have them marked, but I don't know exactly where every single one came from. So I need to start taking better, notes. Yeah, exactly. Doing better. And I finally bought myself little acrylic pens so I can mark my specimens and everything. But that just happened
And the only thing I would say, don't mark on the leaf.
Right, of course.
We don't want to look like we're from the 1880s.
Is that what they did?
We were back at the Smithsonian doing
Right.
work, and when you name something, you have what we call a holotype. So the holotype is the specimen that the new species is described from. Okay, so you can have other leaves, but it supposedly is the best leaf.
Right.
And the holotype never gets replaced, even if you come across better leaves. So that's an official defining of the leaf. You can have then a holosyntype, which means it's given additional information to the holotype. So we're at the Smithsonian doing this project for the Park Service, and the leaf had a primary vein. Now it had a tip, it had a base, it had a margin, so it got 3 points regardless. So it scored a 3, and all there was on it was this one primary vein. We couldn't tell. We couldn't put it into a bin or anything like that. And it was a holotype. Le Carew had described a species from this leaf, and they had painted their identification number right on top of the fossil. It's like, oh,
you're killing me.
Please don't. So the nice thing with holomorphotyping is that we're not bound to keep the leaf, the first leaf that we find of the holotype, that leaf. If we find a better leaf, we can replace, and so we call them holomorphotypes, and we can bump the other one. So we're always looking for the better leaf to fill in the collection, which is what we're doing at Fossil Butte National Monument with Green River material. So you have a slightly better, but not a lot in terms of, you know, score-wise.
Because they're all laid on top of each other, so you don't get edges or anything
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
and they're broke. I'm thinking
This one looks like good possibility.
we're very
Yeah,
close
that's the one I
to
was
the
thinking.
base of this one, so the base is almost there, and I actually think that this had a chordate base. That this is the base of the leaf sweeping in here, and it probably swept around here, kind of an indentation here, and then the petiole or attachment was right up in here. We could stretch it and say, well, you get a point for that. Clearly, you see a lot better first and second veins. Whereas on that one, I was able to find thirds, and if I look, I found one place that I can see some thirds coming off, but not quite as good as the other one in terms of thirds. Yeah, it's kind of surprising. It surprises you, yeah. Now we have another leaf over here.
There's probably, I think there's 4 or 5 different on that plate.
Probably a different species than this one. Now here we're getting down so specifically the angle that's formed when the secondary hits the primary. So this interior angle here. So that's a key thing. That's a descriptional feature that we would write down. I think is different than this one, and definitely the spacing of the veins are a lot closer on this leaf than this leaf. And though they're both kind of uniformly spaced, and then we look at how the secondary attaches in to the primary, and these just slam right into them. Excurrent, I think. So there's that leaf. There's a part of a leaf over here, right?
Yeah, you were right too about that. When they're wet, they're a little bit, well, some of them are easier to see when they're wet, and then some are harder. It's very strange.
Of course, then you get out there with your little tools and you try to break away some of the stuff that's covering up your leaf and end up cracking it, ruining your.
Yeah, I just bought this the other day. I don't think it's not meant for fossils, but I was like,
it probably works.
It might work pretty good.
Yeah.
But I haven't had a chance to actually, brush anything off. I've mostly kept everything just kind of like as much as possible how I found it.
Yeah.
Figuring that
I would.
Until I knew more, until I understood exactly what I was doing, I didn't want to ruin
these
anything.
would be hard to say trim.
If you next time you go to the dentist, ask if they have an old dental pick.
Get the I collect them for my dentist. I use them to prep on the rocks on that.
Yeah, I've seen some of the rock hounding people mention that, and even the drills, the drill heads. I guess you could put those in like in a Dremel and get at things. Well, we've got lots more to go, so
okay.
I don't know if you want to how you want to do this. Or should I just
Pull
feed you fossils?
Pull them out.
Okay, so at your feet here, I believe those are impressions of, again, carbonized twigs, wood. I don't really know. And some of this I don't think you're going to be terribly interested in just because of either the quality or the fact that it's wood.
Well, no, wood is we don't want to. I mean, the flora over at Vantage is all basically based on wood. Some of the rarest fossilized wood in the world in eastern Washington.
That one might be fairly good in terms of you being able to see more of the actual complete leaf. And then I have some that I don't even really know what they are.
Yeah, you put them in your bag to bring home and you go, what?
What is this?
Oh,
yeah, I think you're right though. Is it Susan? That's right. Yeah, I think this one, like that one right there, I think is whole. Possibly. And feel free to use the little thingy too. I don't even really know what it is. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I believe it was something having to do with kitchen, but
It's got a
sitting on a
garlic.
Sitting on a
It's for cleaning a garlic press.
maybe.
I'm also a thrifter, so I like to find random stuff and repurpose it. I'm gonna just double check that this is all working still. Yep.
Okay.
Look at this one. This one's got
Yeah.
Big rock.
That's also the biggest one, so here we can move that too, so you can put something for that. Move these guys back down. Of course I have tile. That's the other thing. I'm always like so scared I'm gonna drop something and crack it wide open.
Well, this is your most complete leaf.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, we have pretty. I don't know if you would be able to prep anything on one like this to get the full base, but you have a definitely nice margin.
Mm-hmm.
We can see that the secondaries go straight out to the margin.
Mm-hmm.
We call that craspidodromus, big scientific word,
Mm-hmm.
craspidodromus. If they go straight out, but before they get to the margin and then they branch,
Mm-hmm.
we call it semi-craspidodromus. Usually those two conditions are found on leaves that have teeth on their margin rather than entire.
Mm-hmm.
these two are the same.
I would probably think they are.
And then there's I think there's a third one here, but it's just got moss in it.
It's Western Washington.
Yeah,
Moss-
exactly.
Moss on everything.
Yes, that's for sure.
But again, we might be hard pressed to say, maybe there's some faint thirds there. There's a little bit of the lichen growth might be covering it. Could clean it off. So this leaf, this particular leaf might score even a 4, which would be, now we're starting to talk about pretty good leaf preservation. Okay.
Try some more?
Sure.
Okay, so I think they kind of go downhill from here in terms of quality, but so there's something here, something here, maybe, and
There's
I
something
believe
there.
something there. I should have shown them to you in reverse order. There's something here. I'll show them to you, Susan. You can pass them. This one feels like it's been busted a bit.
Now, here's the primary. Let me get an alignment on here.
I'm going to move that.
So, believe it or not,
Yeah, it's a
this
good one.
is the best leaf you have. Even though it's not the most complete leaf,
Right?
preservation-wise,
Isn't that odd?
this leaf
See, I love that.
has very nice seconds, very nice thirds, and I actually found at least 1/4 order.
Wow.
Yes. So these are alternate per current. It comes off the third, and this one get about halfway over, and it forks in the 2 tertiaries that meet the next secondary. And then there's some that go completely across. So it's kind of maybe a mixed per current.
But what I've always been frustrated with is they won't tell you what kind of a leaf it is.
Well, honestly, at this point, any information. I mean, I feel like I've just been kind of in the dark here by myself, just collecting whatever looked cool, and that's kind of the level that I'm at right now.
You're doing very, very well.
Well, good.
I mean, you're seeing them. You're recognizing them.
Yeah. I am starting to build an eye for it. Well, my mom always teased me that I was an eagle eye, because we'd go anywhere and I'd find some treasure. You know, it might be a a coin or a ring, or it's just I've always been that person for some reason.
Are these the same age as those down on the Mitchell River?
No.
The Michelle River.
No, they're not. Yeah, let me finish looking at them here.
Okay.
No problem. And then I've got just a handful of either random stuff or...
Is all of the wood from the same area versus the leaves from a different area?
Yeah, so there's going to be, as we're going to walk, we're going to come to the kind of the wood section first, and then the leaves all come from 2 other areas. This one is, okay. That one's pretty good.
Yeah.
This one is actually pretty good.
You wanted this one, huh? This is...
Well, I don't know, it kind of looked interesting. This one,
I don't think that's anything.
no margin, but again, there are seconds and there are thirds.
It's so funny to me that the ones that I was like, meh.
Well, I would even say...
Do you have a loop? They are invaluable.
I do, and then I have this as well. Again, repurposing.
Yeah.
But this
Camera
is,
lens.
Yeah, it was from a projector.
Oh,
yeah. I'm not exactly sure where my loop is right now, to be honest. Okay, we looked at the big one already. Here, I'm gonna put these. Let's see. I just want to make sure you get a chance to look at all of them.
Sure.
This one is pretty good, I think. And then these are all kind of random. I don't know what they are. I find a lot of this one kind of, it looks like wood to me, but I don't know if it's that or just some kind of formation.
I'm still looking at this one.
That's okay. Hey, if you're excited, I'm excited.
Well, this that's why I said this one, because I was looking at this right here.
Yeah.
And it is.
I'm gonna turn off the recording, I think.